I'm a leader on the Maxwell team. I keep believing. Hello, folks. Welcome. This is Dr. Sharon Johnson. I'm excited to share with you today how to become a person of influence. Well, on your screen, you're looking at John Maxwell book, Becoming a Person of Influence, How to Positively Impact the Lives of Others. Wow, isn't it exciting to know that you can impact the life of others because with your leadership, you can do anything. When we think about leadership, what is leadership? Leadership is all about influence, my friends. That's what it is. When we're influencing people, what we're really doing, we're helping people to become the best they can be, to really help others change. And so the purpose of my showing you this webinar today is to teach you how and to share with you, as a matter of fact, how we as leaders are great influencers, and to promote actually how I could come into your organization, join your team on how and teach and train how to become a person of influence. So again, this is just a recap of what you will get, because when we think of influence, what is your goal as a leader? Your goal is to increase the influence of people around you. When your influence increases, everything else goes up. Your leadership goes up. Without leadership, there is nothing. Leadership is everything. Everything rise and fall with leadership. And so leadership is so important. Again, the goal of the training is to get a better understanding of influence. We're going to dive deeply into influence should you be interested in, wanting to know more about this. Of course, this webinar is just to give you a tip of it. And in the part of the training is to teach how to increase influence with others. What are some of the things we need to have in our inventory? Who do we influence? Who are the people that we influence? So many people around us. You may be a mother, parent, father, police officer, a leader, CEO, a boss, a student. Who do you influence? How do you influence other people? There are various ways that we influence people in our lives. Matter of fact, sometimes we influence without even know it, right? And so some people force people, and we know that's not the right way, because every time people work, when you're not around, you're not a leader, right? Some people intimidate. You better do it. If you don't do this, then this is going to happen. We don't want that to be a part of the influence, right? And of course, manipulation takes place when people are trying to influence. So we have to be careful. We'll talk about manipulation and the impact that has on influence. Position. Maybe you're a CEO again, the leader, the boss, the principal, the superintendent. Who are you and how do you influence? People just are caught up in their position. I am the boss. You do what I say. And that doesn't happen. Because if you want people to be doing the work when you're not around, you've got to be a great influencer. You've got to lead, right? And leaders see the way, they show the way, they know the way. But if there's no trust in a relationship, there's no influence. And we'll dig deep into that should I have the opportunity to teach your team and talk with your team. Influencing, exchanging. Sharing ideas, a deep part of influence. Organizations nowadays, I just did a training with Simon Sinek, and he talks about what kind of perspectives do we have when our organizations, are we doing an infinite game or are we playing a finite game? In that exchange of knowledge and shared opportunities, do we have those environments, right? How do we influence people? Do we persuade people? Twitter, follow me. LinkedIn, Facebook, all of those things. How are you persuading people? Do people respect you? Do you respect people? I have great respect for my boss. You're looking on the screen, John Maxwell. But he also has a great respect for me. So in that process, there is deep influence. Of course, when we look at our organizations, a lot of our managers and leaders are lacking so much respect for people, and in turn, not getting the respect from people. And as a result, it affects productivity. It doesn't matter. When there's no trust, there's no respect, there's no relationship, there is no productivity, right? Of course, how many people do you influence? Your child, your friends, your spouse, your teachers, Maybe you're a pastor, your congregation. How many, if you were to start counting how many people you influence, right? If you look on your screen, you see from 1 through 8, all superstars. Our president fall at number 4. Look at the amount of people Lady Gaga influenced. Look at that. So what is she doing as she's influenced? Why? That's another great question. Why do people follow people, right? And so when you're looking at your inventory, there's also a time and place for everything. When do you influence? Influence, leaders, we are readers all the time. But there's a great leadership sense that comes. Like that moment when you say, it's the right time and place, right? Of course, sometimes you have breakthroughs and you have those places where you do those, yeah, right? You take your team and you get there and you're excited because things are happening, right? Sometimes as a leaders, you are that catalyst for change. And there's a time when it's a catalyst time and the leaders sense that. But there's another great reason why. There are 2 great days in our lives: the day we were born and the day when we find out why. Why? Trust. Big, huge factor of influence. If people don't trust you, they will not work for you. Whether it's in a relationship, in the home, at school, or at work, right? So why you influence is important to why people should follow you. Where do you influence? Do you influence from way down the way, as you see there? People don't trust you. They just don't, you're not influencing them. If you separate yourself from people, you're not influencing them. Oh, I'd love to share that with you because that's such a deep part in our organizations today. Sometimes there's a fine line between getting close to and not getting close to. And when you lose people, you're not influencing. Right? So some insights into influence I'd love to share with you on a deeper level. Leadership is influence. Everything rise and forward influence. Influence in others, our influence with others is not usual in all areas. Remember, we're all different with different strengths and opportunities. And with a leadership position, you have responsibilities. And with those responsibilities, leadership and influence is a key factor in getting people to perform, right? We think of influence, positive or negative. You can have negative influences. We know in our society, with our young people, we have such great negative influence going on. And on the other hand, we have great leaders growing, emerging. And those of you who are, existing leaders, it can be positive or negative. And our influence can grow. As a leader, do you just go or do you just grow, right? Growth is change. And we know that when change is going on, there is influence. And of course, people of positive influence, they add value to others. And that's what my goal is, to join your team to talk about how to become a person of influence. 10 ways to increase influence, my friends. You've got to have integrity, nurture, help people grow, have faith. Course, you've got to listen, look at the speaker, ask questions. Don't interrupt people when they talk. Don't change the subject, right? Emotions are important. What are people thinking and feeling? Be responsive to the person and let them experience responsive listening. So you'll climb the ladder right there when it comes to listening, right? Understand. Do you understand people? Your employee may be asking, does my boss really understand me? Your child, does my mom or dad really understand me, right? So leaders enlarge. You grow yourself, in turn you grow people, and then you grow your organization. You enlarge and you navigate. Anyone can steer the boat, my friend, but guess what? It takes a leader to chart the course. That's navigation. Connection is important. Everyone communicate, but few connect. Who are you connecting with as you increase influence? And empowering. Oh, that's my favorite word. You've got to empower people to reach their maximum potential. 80% of leaders attract followers. Do you know what 10% does when it comes to reproducing? 10% attract leaders, right? Followers, leaders. Guess what? 5% reproduce those leaders. And thank you so much for joining me. Again, my name is Dr. Sharon Johnson. Certainly you can email me or visit my website, but I would love the opportunity to share with your team this great topic on becoming a person of influence. So if you've been with me before and shared any of my training, you know I'm going to say to you, stay beautiful, stay fabulous, and stay motivated. Goodbye.